Hello everyone. Welcome back. I'm Bumi, and today we are watching Are Insects Getting Banned by TierZoo. Yes, are they getting banned though? Well, we've heard a couple of times that essentially if honeybees go out of extinct, it will cause a cascading effect that will doom us all. I don't know about that. I mean, the main reason for that theory was because honeybees are like our main pollinators, but actually they aren't like our only pollinators. I'm not sure what the percentage that they take up is, but I'm pretty sure that we are probably gonna be fine. Although it will be a huge ecological disaster for sure, but we can probably get over that somehow. But still, are insects getting banned though? I'm not sure what the premise is here. Are they referring to global warming or climate change essentially? Like disrupting the natural ecology of different nations? I'm not sure, so I'm gonna let TierZoo handle this one. So remember, if you like my reactions, don't forget to leave a like, let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs this year, so hopefully you can help us out. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check out next. That being said, let's go ahead and watch the video.
This episode was sponsored by Skillshare.
Oh, that was good. That was good editing.
Even though no individual insect can claim the #1 spot on the tier list over the human build, insects as a whole are easily the most successful build type in the history of the game. The average insect ranks much higher than the average mammal or bird, and this has been true even since before the devs added dinosaurs into the game.
Bruh.
I plan to make many insect tier lists in the future, but I'm making this video now because rumors have started to circulate about leaks that data miners have found concerning new unannounced balance changes to the insect class.
Oh, interesting.
Today I want to talk about the
Yeah,
content
so
of this discovery and its implications.
So it's probably climate change, right? Because I don't see any other situation wherein insects are dying off in a like massive scale. It could only be global warming. I think.
Both for the insect player base and for the meta as a whole. Outside's community got understandably freaked out when data miners discovered a new hidden balance patch titled Insect Apocalypse. Are insects being banned? Are insects being nerfed? Is it all insects or only specific builds? Well, lucky for you guys, TierZoo is here to give you the scoop on the Insect Apocalypse balance patch in its entirety.
Nice.
First
Let's
things
go.
first, no, the Insect Apocalypse is not a universal balance change that affects all insect builds.
Okay.
Most of the nerfs, and buffs too, there are a few of those, center around changes to the overworld itself, which directly affects insect mains.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So it is gonna be mostly focused on climate change.
let's discuss which insect builds are going to be most affected. There are two main groups affected, the first of which is the specialist builds. Many insect players have an extremely refined
Big wasp?
playstyle. Everything about their gameplay is highly specific. They eat only specific plants, prey upon specific players, and reproduce only in the exact right conditions.
Oh
Naturally,
damn.
these players are much more vulnerable to having
Yeah.
their game plans disrupted. And, well,
When you're not like adaptable like most of the animals or insects, any small change on your environment will throw a big wrench in your plans. So yeah, with deforestation unfortunately increasing, this will serve as a lot of additional problems for most of the wildlife.
there's a lot of disruption going on. Because of that, many of these strategies are becoming unviable. Obviously, there are millions of potential examples, so I can't talk about everything, but one example most players will recognize is
The butterfly.
monarchs are highly selective in their early game XP sources. During their early game, they feed exclusively on milkweed, which makes sense because this grants them an important perk, poison. They can't exactly spec into a generalist build without sacrificing their only line of defense, so they're in a tough spot as milkweed becomes rarer in-game and gets cleared by humans to plant crops. The
Dragonflies.
second type affected the worst are builds like mayflies, dragonflies, and stoneflies. These all share one thing in common. The first few levels of their playthrough are aquatic. They start out the game in a river, pond, or swamp, and have to level up by hunting there before they reach the level where they unlock wings and leave their aquatic biome. The aquatic biome has become a lot tougher to survive in if you've got a sensitive respiratory system, as it's become increasingly toxic, mostly due to runoff. Robust builds like
That's
Catfish
true.
can tank the added pollutants just fine, but fragile nymphs don't have that ability, and so
The more we pollute our rivers, ponds, and lakes, the more they are gonna be having a hard time reproducing. Um, I don't know how it affects. How do you call this? Mosquitoes that much? Them I don't mind dying off, but dragonflies I'm not sure. I'm on the butterflies. The dragonflies. Butterflies can stay.
builds that have to lay eggs in water are seeing a decline. Now for the builds that will do well. You'd probably guess that if specialists do poorly, generalist insects will do extremely well.
Yeah.
And you'd be right. Honestly, I wouldn't expect generalist insects to experience much difficulty from this patch at all. Builds that aren't picky about their XP sources will still be able to find their way, and should see their player bases remain relatively stable. Builds like the Cabbage White Butterfly, a generalist butterfly build, and the Ladybug, a generalist beetle build, are examples of great choices to survive the update. Especially the Ladybug, because it's got a mild poison that deters birds.
Ooh, I didn't realize that ladybugs were carnivores. I thought they were exclusively herbivores. Interesting.
Poison doesn't require a specific diet like the Monarch's does. And considering birds have a lot less potential targets now that many of the aquatic insects are flying out of the meta, this protection will be even more valuable. But there are some insects that have even been buffed in this patch, and these are the scavengers. Same purpose as
Cockroaches.
generalists, but also don't require access to the shrinking meadow biomes that most insects depend on. In fact, most of these builds do better in cities. There are a few obvious examples that I'm sure you're well aware of. For example, cockroaches. Roaches have been skyrocketing up the tier list ever since they first expanded out of their African home server back during the colonial era. But the insect buffed the most in this patch is the yellow jacket. Yellow jackets have been spiking in population lately due to milder winters and drier springs. And they're perfectly suited to human-dominated environments such as cities and parks. Yellow jackets have great DPS, mobility, and defense for their size. And
they pack a nasty sting.
They can also hunt pretty effectively from the air, and take on other players outside their own weight class.
Oh, damn!
And take on players far outside their weight class in groups. They can build their bases anywhere and love to eat the scraps other players leave behind. A trash-filled world is a paradise for yellow jackets, and considering how quickly landfill biomes are expanding, it's no surprise that they're
landfill biomes.
A quick lightning round for some other insect builds.
Grasshoppers.
Their respawn point, the meadow, is becoming more scarce as farmland biomes replace them. But in most places, their populations are doing fine. Although in America, the variant that has a swarm...
The locusts are probably going to be having a good time once we fill most of the, like, how do you call this? Most of the rainforest into, like, farming areas.
...ability actually got banned.
Praying mantises
are not picky when it comes to what they'll catch. While they're still nerfed by the reduction in forest biomes, mantises, along with spiders, are still the most effective stealth build for that weight class. Their success depends on how badly the nerfs affect the number of other flying insects that they come across. Since many of these insects are part of the category hit by aquatic nerfs, they could potentially be in trouble, but certainly not doomsday levels. Honeybees are dealing with their own set of nerfs called colony collapse disorder. This is a separate thing from the insect apocalypse, so we aren't going to go into too much detail. Other types of bees, wasps, and hornets are generally doing alright, although the other bee builds in particular are actually being shut out a bit by the invasive honeybees. Plenty of non-arthropod builds will become less viable with fewer insect players around. The two main groups affected are the fish and the birds. Fish have a pretty easy matchup against aquatic insects.
That's understandable since they mostly prey on like small insects. For the catfish, those who lay their eggs down and basically respawn in lakes and ponds. And the birds, well, they just go tree to tree and look for insects.
Especially the ones which leave the water once they're in their most powerful final form. So without as many of these players around, fish will need to find another source of easy XP. A similar thing can be said about birds. Many birds rely on flying insect mains as an easy source of XP too, although birds generally have a lot more options besides insects.
Yeah,
pollinators
they do.
are some of the most heavily affected, so the human player base is also potentially in trouble because of their reliance on pollinated crops. However, many of the humans' crops, like corn, are pollinated by wind, so I wouldn't get too worried if you're maining human right now. Anyways, overall, I don't think the Insect Apocalypse balance patch is as bad as people initially thought.
Yeah, as I thought.
Insect builds are among the most adaptable and versatile in the game, and because of their extremely quick respawn time, they were able to come up with counter strategies relatively quickly. In addition, these nerfs are mostly just due to resources becoming more limited. The climate change balance patch has very little to do with the insect apocalypse, and honestly, if the human player base really wanted to, they're powerful enough to reverse it. Planting native plants is basically all
If the human race really wants to, but where's the profit in that? Some would say. So, yeah, I don't think, unfortunately, climate change is gonna happen. Uh, Most of the big like oil and gas industries are not gonna stop regardless of what happens. So yeah, it's gonna be a problem for everyone, not just the insects.
that needs to be done in order to reverse the effects. And like I said, insects respond so quickly that they'll easily bounce right back if the right conditions exist.
Yeah.
So there's plenty
Yeah,
of
that's
reason
true.
to have hope in this case.
So as long as they don't get killed off too fast with like multiple numbers of them, they can probably like quickly evolve to adapt into the situation as long as the changes don't happen too fast.
By the way, I got a lot of the footage in this video from some extremely talented wildlife photographers. I really respect the work that they do, and I hope to be able to reach the same quality myself someday. That's why I've been taking photography classes on
Okay.
Skillshare.
Yeah, Skillshare. Go to TierZoo.com. No, Skillshare.com/TierZoo. Yeah, it's really interesting though. When it comes to the insect apocalypse, I always keep hearing about. It's just about the honeybees. Well, at least I myself have never really been introduced to the other insects because yeah, like TierZoo said, honeybees are like overrated when it comes to pollination. Most of our pollination are done by different methods, other insects, by the wind. Yeah. So losing the honeybees aren't that big a deal, but it will still have a knock-on effect to the whole, like the ecology as a whole, I should say. Still, very interesting video. We shouldn't panic just yet, but it wouldn't hurt. Well, it would actually benefit us to reverse climate change as soon as possible so that we don't have to deal with too many unknowns when it comes to the ecology and the environment. That's just gonna be it for me today, guys. Link to my Twitter is down in the description below. Go ahead and check it out if you want to. And if you're new here and enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below and consider subscribing. We are trying to get 1,000 subs this year, so hopefully you guys can help me out with that. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check on next. That being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!